Treat yourself to the simple goodness of Oneness Essentials, all natural skincare, soaps, and candles. Each product is handmade and created with nourishing ingredients and genuine care. From skin-loving natural soaps and cozy candles, Oneness Essentials brings a little more comfort and kindness to your daily routine. Use code HelloAwesome for 20% off your order today at onenesssoapbiz.com. That's ONESSSOAPBIZ.com. Hey guys, JC here. I just want to share with you some books that I have on Amazon. Yes, all of these you can find on Amazon. I have written devotionals, I've written Bible studies, and I also have designed 3 modest fashion coloring books which feature some really amazing illustrations for the young lady in your life. I have some people who have ordered these for Sunday school or for their children to do while they're at church, just to listen to the Word of God while also concentrating on wholesome illustrations. And so you can also order these Bible studies or these devotions for your small group. They make really good open discussions. They help lead you and as you're leading others. And so you can find them all on Amazon. Just put in my name, JC, Jacy, last name Pulford, Pulford, or you can tap the link in the description of this video. It'll take you directly to my bookshelf. Order a book today. If you have Amazon Prime, it'll get to you in like 2 days. And so I hope that you will be blessed by these resources that the Lord has allowed me to share with you. Hey guys, welcome to the Hello Awesome podcast. I have a new guest here with me, my friend Kristen Thompson. I cannot wait to get into talking about our health, our bodies, but most importantly, how God created everything. And He has a plan. But before we get into that, Kristen, thank you so much for being on the podcast.
Absolutely.
And I want to just give you some time to share with us, especially for those who may not know who you are. Share a little bit about who you are and what you do.
Hey everyone, it is such a blessing to be on this podcast. I'm so thankful to JC for inviting me to be here and have a chance to talk to everybody and just share. My name is Kristen Thompson. I am from Newport, Oregon, the West Coast, where I get to see the Pacific Ocean every day. And I am a functional nutrition coach and personal trainer. And so my business is really about helping ladies deal with when they get a diagnosis, to know how to live in kind of like how to eat well, how to handle with herbs, and how to just the rubber meets the road, kind of like that nitty gritty of where, okay, now I have this medication. What foods can or can't I eat? What happens? And what can I do from here? And I help them find out kind of what's going on behind the scenes about what may be antagonizing this and what habits they can change to alter that.
It's so important, and it's such an awesome ministry because it's a different kind of ministry. You're dealing with the physical body,
Yeah,
and that in turn does help spiritually. So I am
it really
excited.
does. Me
Okay, so
too.
let's take it back. Let's take it back to the beginning because I know your story. I've been following you for a while. We've been connecting for years. I don't even know how many years. We won't say how many years, but
Yeah.
we've been connecting for a while.
Mm.
And I have seen the progression of when you started sharing your journey and going into coaching. And it was so fun to see over here on this side. But tell me, how did that start for you? Your nutrition journey, what made you take a deep dive into this world?
So it actually was my husband. I did not think I would actually go into the nutrition sphere. I'm a mathematician and a musician, and so I thought that's where I would go. But when we had our boys, so my husband has had a chronic condition his entire life, and it's a very strange one. Whenever he gets sick, he'll have a cold. He'll get done having that cold, and then he would break out in hives from head to toe from 7 to 10 days. And so he would have to go work during the time he was sick because he couldn't work when he had hives. He couldn't hold a hammer, he couldn't wear shoes or flip-flops or anything. And this would happen maybe once or twice a year. We were like, okay, so this is what we managed. We just planned for it. But when we had our sons, it started to get worse and he started to get food intolerances. He became lactose intolerant. And we're like, okay, we can manage that. But then he became nightshade intolerant. And nightshades is potatoes, tomatoes, paprika, bell peppers, like no pasta, no burgers and french fries and ketchup. He couldn't have anything. And then we were like, okay, so I was started to do a little research because I was like, what's going on? We were trying to talk to doctors and they were like, well, that stinks. Like, okay, man. Um, then we had our youngest, Peter, and he was 1 month old, and my husband got sick, and then he had hives for over 30 days. And so, what he like I was recovering from a C-section. He wasn't able to work, and we're a single income family. And we would go to the doctor, and they would say, well, he just has to eat chicken and broccoli. And if it gets into his face, we'll give him a steroid shot. And that's all they had. And Benadryl wasn't touching it. Prednisone wasn't touching it, and it was making him an angry bear. Like, we weren't getting any answers. And I was not about to cook chicken and broccoli for the rest of my life. No.
Wow.
So what I started doing the research. I started buying books. I started Googling. I started reading everything I could. And I was working at losing weight while after having the baby. So I had my nutrition coach certification. And so I already kind of understood that. But when we went through it and they said he's never going to be able to eat these foods ever again, this is why he's going to be stuck. I was like, I reject that diagnosis. And so I learned how to walk him through a gut health reset. It took about 3 years. I didn't have to take him to the deepest level, but we took him down to eating just whole foods and nourishing that gut biome. And he was able then to eat again. He was able to eat potatoes. He was able to eat lasagna. He was able to eat, drink chocolate milk, and actually enjoy food again. But he still had the hives. So I had a good understanding of the gut response, but the hives would come back. And that's what pushed me to go even deeper. I went into herbal medicine. I went into Chinese medicine, and that's how I understood. So in Western medicine, it's very much they discuss like, okay, this is your gallbladder. And then the gallbladder is, it's full of stones. We're getting rid of it. And sometimes you got to do that. But they don't look at why is the gallbladder full of stones? What started this? And so with him, we went through, and I went through and I to understand why is the hives coming? Well, he's allergic to the dead flu virus. Why is he doing that? The liver is overwhelmed, and that is both physical, emotional, spiritual. It's all the things together. But what can we do? And so with that knowledge, we were able to alter things, add in some herbal supports when he's sick. And now he's had hives for less than a day, and sometimes just not at all. So I don't think I've actually seen hives on him in over a year at this point. And so God really led us through all of that. And during this time I was researching him, a lot of people, like my family and friends, started saying, well, you know about this. What do you know? What can I help here? And I just started helping those around me. And it just became natural to be like, hey, hold on a minute. Let me research.
Yeah.
And I'll come back and I'll get you an answer about what your options are.
Mm-hmm.
It was just incredible how God led us through all of that.
I can't even imagine how that must have been for him to go through such a helpless feeling because, as the husband, the father, they want to provide, they want to be the strong one, then they can't. They physically can't. Um, that's
Yeah.
definitely something that I have seen in my own life as well. My husband has chronic migraines. It is not
Mhm.
fun to watch your spouse struggle physically when you know that they wouldn't want it that way, obviously. And it was definitely something. I think your mindset of how your brain works, Kristen, just mathematically, and how you like to solve problems. This was that of
Yeah.
your husband has this problem, and the modern medicine, honestly, Western culture of how doctors operate. They don't deal with nutrition a lot. They don't
Yeah.
deal with how our body uh, is affected by the foods we eat, which is wild to me because
Hmm.
we're ingesting things. You would think
Yeah.
they would know how that affects our body, but they really don't. And unfortunately, this is not a conspiracy podcast, but we also know that the pharmaceutical companies definitely have a hand in that matter. We'll just say that. But
Yes.
um, but it's quick for them to just here's a pill, here's uh whatever,
Yeah.
something, here's a shot, and you're like, okay, that might work, but that's not solving the problem because it can come back.
Exactly. And really what is happened, and this actually started back, I also like history too. It started back towards World War II when they wanted to, because they're good at that acute condition, but they will take an herb and they'll hypersynthesize the active component out of it. And then they'll have you take that active component, but you don't have the rest of the herb to soften the blow on the body. And if you're already sick, that
Hmm.
active component can burn the body and cause more difficulties in that. And so it can help. And there is times that I'll say, okay, yes, you need to take a Tylenol or something like this, but you do have to be careful because it can do more harm than good if it is inappropriately used. And I think a lot of people are so comfortable with the names Tylenol, Advil, aspirin, things like that, that we don't really think they made it where we don't really think about it when we go, wait a second, I'm putting something into my body that can be another burden more
Right.
than another help.
Hmm. Yeah, that's a good way to put it. And we're just so programmed to have a quick fix
Mm.
that the
Yeah,
other the other way of trying to figure it out is just, quote unquote inconvenient. But that's why
yeah.
we need people like you, people that can advocate for us when we're not our best, because it's hard to make those choices when you're the one not feeling the best, and to have someone to advocate for you, that's just such a honestly that's just such a blessing.
Yeah, it really is such a needed space because it's yeah, when you have that condition, it's hard to think for yourself. And even like with my husband, he hears me with everything I've learned. And so when I'm sick, he's like, "Okay, Kristen, what do I need to do for you?" And I'm like, "You need to know what I've taught you because I don't feel well right now. I know a general, but like I need help even outside of that because when you are sick, that brain fog comes in. You're not able to get those questions that you really need to ask and everything like that. And it becomes more difficult.
Right. Which that's a great transition to the next point that I wanted to talk about, because we're both moms
Mm,
and we have kiddos, and it took a process for us to have those kiddos, and
mm,
that does take a toll on our body. And we do the best that we can by the grace of God, but it's hard. It's hard to be a healthy mama. It's hard to make healthy choices for our family, but the hardest part is just eating healthier for ourselves. And so I know that you also have a personal story with that. So, what's been the hardest part as a mom about eating healthier, and how did you overcome that?
So it really went back to when my first son was born, actually with Marcus, and this is what got me to get my first nutrition coaching certificate. he had a bit of a difficult birth. He was born 9 pounds and an ounce 2 weeks before he was due. Um, and so he suffered some shoulder dystocia. He needed some therapy after that. And so emotionally, it took a lot of toll on me. And for the first 3 months, it was just autopilot. And so I wouldn't eat during the day at all because there was no one around. It was just me and my boy. And then at dinner, I would eat 5 plates of dinner, 3 pieces of cake, and then I would crash. And it got to the point where I couldn't nurse him anymore. And so that really, my husband, he asked me, he says, would you just eat breakfast before I went to work? Like, let me just watch you eat breakfast. I was like, okay. He's like, I'll hold the boy. And so I ate breakfast, and that restarted my metabolism, and that restarted pushing things forward. And so that helped me to understand the necessity of just do it, not so much thinking about it. And so even in the past couple of years, because now I have a 7 and a 9-year-old, and my husband and my own health things and all the different things, is that it's like people will talk a lot about, hey, you need to prioritize yourself, or you need to prioritize your health and everything. But it's really not about prioritization. It's about laying a foundation. And so if you have that mental load of like, oh no, I have to feed everybody, I have to do this, and then he needs this, and he wants this, or she wants this, bring it down to brass tacks. A roasted chicken and some veggies in the oven will do you a world of good, and you don't even have to think about it. It's just, you just throw it in, add some sauces afterwards for some flavor, but don't think that, oh, if I eat enchiladas, I'm going to be an unhealthy person. You can eat those foods. You can make them in a way that is healthier for you. But I think a lot of times we've demonized a lot of foods. We've demonized a lot of things that really actually should have space on our plate. And so it's really about, people say it's about balance, and in part it's about balance, but it's really about that foundation and not letting like the other part is where it's like Instagram is going, oh my goodness, you need to have, collagen every single morning, and you need to have this supplement and this thing and this thing. And it's like, no, you just need some whole foods. Go get some chicken, go get some beef, go get some veggies, get some rice, get some potatoes, and just make a meal. Make it simple. It doesn't have to be complex. It doesn't have to be the new fancy brand. In fact, I would recommend against the fancy brands. I'd recommend just go to the non-name, brand name things and just make a meal. Make something you enjoy. Because that's also a key to your health, is food that you actually enjoy. Food should not be a punishment.
Right. Right. And that's a great way to simplify it too, just going back to the basics. I've been thinking about that too, and I'm glad that you worded it that way because it can be very overwhelming
Yeah.
when you feel like just wow, I am a failure because, I didn't have this amount of protein every day. Every day,
Yeah.
everything's protein now. It's a buzzword, and I know we need it. I know we need it, but it's been
Me too,
overused.
but
Um,
yeah.
but and I know because I'm literally in the middle of this journey of changing the way that I think about food, how I was raised thinking about food, the portions, coming from a big family, a big Hispanic family. I
Mm.
remember getting married and my husband's like, babe, we can't eat all this. I'm just like, here's our meal, a portion. Um, but then realizing too, like I can make foods that are tasty, that are yummy, but that are just simple. Just get the meat and the veggies. Honestly, when I'm overwhelmed, that's truly what I think is I go back to what I've heard. Um, uh, from certain people I trust is to, okay, start with a meat and then get a veggie and
Yeah.
then just go simple. So I did want you to share practical ways to do this because it's easy to, I think, talk about it. But what would you say would be three practical things that we can do as busy moms to help our hormonal health or physical health?
So with the hormonal health, I want to do a little bit of a caveat before I start on the what you do. And that's the fact because hormonal health has become such a buzzword. But hormonal health is actually a big umbrella. Yes, we have estrogen, progesterone, and testosterone. There's also serotonin, cortisol, and melatonin, and it's a concert. But again, going back to the basics is often what's going on with the hormones is not the fact that something is spiking, or maybe that it is, but that we're not taking care of the foundation. And it's spiking in response to the fact that we're not taking care of that foundation. And so taking care of that foundation looks like eating that basic breakfast before you have your coffee. It's really as simple as that. It makes a big difference on the energy levels. And I know because I'm a coffee fiend too. But if you protect that morning cortisol curve, because your cortisol spikes in the morning, it gets you up and going, and it tells all the rest of your hormones what to do for the day. If you protect that morning curve and get a little sunlight, eat something, some eggs, some Kodiak pancakes or something like that, you will be setting the stage for a much better day. You've already bitten those cravings and gotten rid of them. You've already regulated your energy spike so you're not going to have such a dip in the afternoon simply by eating your breakfast. It makes that big of a difference. The next thing I would say is wind down intentionally in the evenings. And this is one that we do hear quite a lot. Everyone's like, no screen time before bed and everything. But if you protect your evening wind down time and you have a routine, it could be a hot cocoa before bed, you know, quiet time with the family. That's really going to make, like, those two things is going to set the stage so that if there is a hormonal spike, something really going wrong, you've already narrowed it down. You've already removed the factors that could be antagonizing that are most likely antagonizing it. Then you can actually figure out this is what's really going wrong. I'm having a cortisol spike at 2 p.m. Why? Well, I'm getting a phone call at 2 p.m. every day that's been spiking my cortisol. You know, I'm anticipating this that's going on. And then you can help narrow that down because you've already laid that foundation. And so the last thing is I would say audit your habits. Look at what you're reaching for when you're not feeling well. If you're not feeling good and you're grabbing that ice cream, you know, it could be that if you're doing that every single day, that's feeding into an unhealthy structure. So look at your daily habits, and even for just a week, that's going to give you a whole much better mentality. And then you'll be able to narrow down what you need to do and what you can change, and also what you may not want to change. I have ice cream most evenings with my husband. That's not going out of my schedule, okay? It's my wind down time, and I'm protecting it because that's an important part of my heart. And so what I do is I have a great dinner before then. I've portioned my ice cream in the evening. I'm not going to demonize that and throw that out the window because somebody on Instagram is telling me I'm having too much sugar. I know what the rest of my day holds.
Yeah, I love that you said that. I've been thinking about this too because it takes me back to when I was a kid and, I was a kid in the 80s and 90s, which I'm pretty sure you were too.
Yep.
And, it was really big on just, cutting this, cutting that, cutting this,
Yeah.
hyper exercise culture. And this is bad, this is good, like using literally those terms.
Yep.
And sometimes when I hear that from someone, it like hits me wrong because I go, I don't think that we're supposed to feel that way about food or
Yeah.
feel that way like if you want your ice cream, enjoy it, but then later on, don't beat yourself up about having it.
Yeah.
Just
Yep.
maybe, like you said, make sure that you have a good meal before it, or the next meal after it's going to be good. And the
Yes.
same thing with breakfast too. I'm a big breakfast person. That's my favorite meal of the day. But
Awesome.
that's not everyone. And
Yeah.
I do I'm like, what? What do you mean? There's so many good foods to eat in the morning.
There
Um,
is.
but some people just like don't touch any breakfast foods at all. They just go right into lunch later on in the day. My brain can't fathom that. Well, what do you and this is I'm just gonna throw this to you. I know it's
Mm.
not on our list, but What happens to our bodies when we skip breakfast? I know sometimes I do it if I'm intentionally fasting. I might
Mm,
do a later breakfast, but I don't
yeah.
let it get too late depending on the timing of all that. But if somebody is let's say, I'm going to word it this way. If someone is consistently skipping breakfast, going right to the energy drinks, to the coffee, and then eating lunch later, what is that doing to their body? Or what is
So
that might be doing to their body? Let's just use that
it,
word.
yeah, it's actually, I've actually done a deep dive into this in the last month because of the popularity of intermittent fasting and them advertising, don't eat breakfast, don't eat till lunch, don't eat till lunch. But actually, your body, so, and this is why I studied into Chinese medicine because they discuss this in great detail. When you wake up, your cortisol is rising by 4 a.m. It's already starting to rise with the sun and trying to help wake you up. When you eat breakfast, it does a trade-off and it says, oh, I have the sustenance I need. And so the cortisol stops spiking as high and instead it gets taken over by another hormone and it starts to level out and it says, all right, I don't got to worry about it. I got to take a little bit of rest. When you don't eat, the cortisol says, oh no, I'm still stressed. They don't have the sustenance they need and it continues to rise. And so then it starts to stress the body out. And when you chronically do that, it creates it where the stomach is not ready to digest anything in the morning. And that actually does alter your stomach. It changes not the structure of your stomach acids, but it tells it what to do. And that can slow digestion later in the day. And so it really does create this habit in the body that can just perpetuate stress because the body is stressed until it gets the sustenance. So when you do eat the breakfast, you're able to, your body's like, oh, I got all the building blocks. I can get to work. I can focus. And I know that some people say, well, but then I get brain fog. Then I would say, what are you eating? How much are you eating? It doesn't have to be a lot. It doesn't have to be a big meal. It could be a cup of yogurt and, you can mix a little protein powder in. You can have some berries with it. It could be 2 eggs, maybe egg whites in for a little extra protein, something fiber heavy, something like that. But if you're consistently getting brain fog, I would recommend looking at the actual macros of it and then altering to help support that gut biome a little bit better.
Yeah, I agree. I've had to learn about the certain foods to maybe cut back on a little bit, not cut them out, but maybe just
Mm,
smaller portions because of how my body processes those things, especially in the
yep.
morning. Um, just just a little background. But I had a medical injury when I was in my 20s, and that
Mm,
caused the lining of my stomach um, to actually kind of burn. It
okay.
We're not going to go into the details of that, but it was not fun because I had an allergic reaction, and so
Mm,
it literally burned the lining of my stomach when I had that allergic reaction to this medication, and it took me so long to figure out um, how to heal my body, how to heal my gut, how to heal my stomach. And so when I hear, you talking, it really reminds me of uh, just how God is just so good because I didn't know all of this information, but I was
yeah.
in prayer and I really felt led to do certain things, even though I had no knowledge about some of these things. And then I learned it later on of, oh, that's why I felt like I needed to do this to feel better. And why I had to cut out maybe less caffeine, more tea,
Yeah.
more kind of bland foods for a little bit, less sauces and acidic foods, ease up on the tomatoes for a while. Like certain things that it was like an alarm system going off in my body. So I this next question, I know why now because I went through it, but some people don't know why. But why should we care about our gut?
Well, it is the foundation of our body. It is essentially 70% of our immune system is in our body. 90% of our serotonin is produced there. And then it's not in your brain. The happy feel good things, they come from your gut. But it is the first front to your immune system. And what you put in there is what feeds your liver. Your liver is the master of it tells the immune system where to go, it tells you what to attack, everything like that. Um, it's the foundation of our hormones. It's the foundation of our immune system, and all of our hormones are actually metabolized in the concert between the gut and the liver. And with the Chinese medicine, it discusses how when you are stressed and you're anxious, your spleen slows digestion in your gut. When your gut is overwhelmed with fats and with sugars, your gallbladder reacts. When your body is under attack by a cold, your liver responds. But they're all connected to that gut, and they go, what are you feeding me? And what you put into that gut gives you the building blocks to fight off infection and to fight things like that. One interesting note, there are some people who are vegetarian or vegan, and if that's works for them, that's great. I am a big supporter of eating red meat. Red meat, now this is an interesting thing. Joseph Salisbury, you know Salisbury steaks?
Yes, I
Um,
do.
and so Joseph Salisbury lived during the Civil War. And he studied because he was dealing with soldiers with dysentery, soldiers with bullet wounds in the gut. And so he was going, what do I do to help these guys? Like, what do I do? So he actually did a system. He tested one guy. He says, you're going to eat nothing but oatmeal. That's all you're going to eat. The guy lasted 3 days. He was done. I'm not doing it again. Another guy, just vegetables. Another guy, just this. And one guy, you're just eating red meat. And the red meat actually healed the holes in the gut lining.
Mm.
And so what was discovered later on and under the microscope is that the red meat provides the amino acids. So when you put something into your gut, it takes about 2 days to go from the gut through the entire body and back into repairing the gut lining. Okay, because it has those little villi that are in the center. When there's red meat in that gut, the body can actually take the amino acid from that red meat and put it into the hole and fix the hole. And so when you put that in that, you give that red meat, you give the carb, you give the fat, you give whole foods, that gives your body the micronutrients that it can actually fight the infection. You know, we've heard about being deficient in copper and magnesium and things. That's how we give our body what it actually needs. And when you don't do that, it's so much harder. It's so much harder to fight what you need to fight.
I mean, that makes so much sense. It's almost like God created. It's almost like he knew.
You know, I think
I
he did.
think he had an idea. Because it's true, we're just so processed here in America. It's
Mm-hmm.
crazy. And we have, instead of, doing red meat, we're here doing like imitation meat.
Yeah.
And because it's quicker, it's faster. And it goes back to wanting like a quick solution. Some people don't want to eat. They don't want to spend time cooking. So they go for the quick solution. Well, then they're going to suffer the consequences of that choice because you're also getting ingredients that aren't exactly real,
Yeah.
unfortunately. And then
Yeah.
your body's trying to break down something that's not even in nature.
Yep. And that's goes right back into what I was saying earlier about when something is hypersynthesized and it doesn't have the other nutrients with it. See, and some people might be upset about what I'm saying, but I don't think that the scientists know it all. I
Yeah.
don't think that they totally understand every aspect about what goes into a molecule. I know I've seen the images, I've been through college, I understand all that, but I think that there's so much more that we're not getting into it and that we may never know because there is also a spiritual element to it. And when you take that, tryptophan from the red meat and you put it into a protein powder, but it doesn't have the other nutrients with it, your body knows what to do with tryptophan. That's fine. but it doesn't have the other things it needs to truly process that and apply it to where you need.
Yeah. Especially if there's added preservatives because
Yeah.
it has to stay on the shelf for a while, right?
Yep. Yep.
Um, okay, so um eating eating and being better, I can see how you like just dove deep into it, and I know you kind of touched on like how you started helping people around you, but how did you take the leap of actually being a nutrition gut health like coach, like stepping out? I remember when you first started and you were sharing how scared you were. I do remember that you were like talking yourself off of a ledge,
Yeah.
but you really felt led to do this. But how did you make that leap, and how has it been stepping into now coaching? You're helping other people with their nutrition.
What really, and you're right, I was so scared stepping into it, and I really had started off with trying to do the weight loss thing and stuff, which I can help people with. But what really started was when a dear friend of mine, she, I met her, I knew her for less than a year. She got baptized in Jesus' name, and she passed away from cancer 3 months later. And we were like instant connection, instant close friends. And it shattered me to know that God gave me the ability and the love that yeah, I'll just grab a textbook and I will just read the textbook front to back, mark it up, everything. I love to spend my time doing that. And I love to get answers. And it really hit me that it's like, no, I can't heal people. No, but maybe I can help. Maybe I can give them something to ease their suffering. Maybe I can help them see this from the way that God would, where God designed the body to thrive. God designed, we get so scared of the symptoms and things, but he actually created a beautiful regenerative system where the liver's fighting for us, the gallbladder's fighting for us, the spleen's fighting for us, all of this. And so it went from, I was afraid to kind of put myself out there, and it became not about me. It became about how can I help this person in their hour of need, and how it's even changed the model of my coaching. Many people, they'll do this, oh, if you come to me for 3 months, I'm going to help you lose the weight and all of this stuff. But what I learned is that people needed someone to just sit down for an hour, go over their blood work, go over their diagnoses, ask them these questions, would you ask your doctor these questions? You know, when my cousin reached out to me, she had high blood pressure and she was on blood pressure medication. And then her blood pressure spiked and it would not come down. So she bought an herbal supplement, and it's a quality herbal supplement, but the blood pressure still would not come down. And so she finally called me and I helped walk her through it. And I said, all right, well, let me get back to you. And I went and I did the research and I came back and I said, holy basil is what's interacting with your heart medication. This is what you can do. And she says, okay. So she tried this method, figuring out if it was the herbal supplement or the heart medication. And since that conversation, I think it's been nearly a year, she's been off of the blood pressure medication completely. And she's using the herbal supplement when she needs. But she learned that it was working against her. And I really understood that people, they want a more naturalist, functional method, but it is such a broad world when you look into it. There's homeopathy, there's allopathy, there's all sorts of names and words, valerian, cat's claw, like what do you use? And understanding like this herb will thin your blood and this herb will move the platelets is a huge world. And so it became a hunger. My coaching became a hunger to just be there so that if someone has a question I can answer, I want to answer that question for them. I don't want to hide or just hide behind a screen like, oh, I don't want to share my life. It's not about me. It's about there is a need and I really want to fill it.
And you are. You are. Not to make you cry. I'm gonna make you cry. No,
Yeah, yeah,
no,
yep,
but
you are.
you are because there is a need, and I'm seeing, and we talked about this before I started recording. There is a need. There are people that want to be informed, and they know that they haven't been really taught how to do this, and they're seeking answers, and that's why they go online. That's why they go to
Yeah,
social media. Most people are seeking answers there. It's one of the reasons why I think it's important to show up online if you can, if the Lord allows you to, because people are seeking for answers there for all
yeah,
sorts of problems that they have. And when it comes to nutrition and gut health, there's a lot of misinformation out there. And
yeah,
if we can have somebody who, number one, loves Jesus, number two, follows Jesus, and number three is trying to be faithful in their personal life and their walk with God in what they're learning and what they know. That's amazing to have somebody like that in your corner because they'll share with you the hard stuff, but they'll do it in love. And
yeah.
I think a lot of us want that. And um, so okay, so what would you say to someone who is completely overwhelmed with trying to make healthier food choices and they don't know where to start?
It's a lot easier than social media makes it out to be. And it's not, like I said before, it's not some fancy supplement. It's not that you haven't found this mystical herb from China or India that's going to help you. It's really not that. Earlier, I said God designed your body to thrive. And He really, now, when you go back to Genesis 3, and this is a study I did in the past couple months, when God cursed the ground and He told Adam, from dust you came and dust you shall return, and from the sweat of your brow. So at that moment when they ate the fruit of the tree of good and evil, they should have died. But God gave them space and grace and an opportunity to repent. When He did that, He also activated in the body the liver, the kidneys, the gallbladder, everything that filters out toxins, that gives us that space. So God designed your body to fight for you. It's not fighting against you. When you're having a headache, when you're having these aches and pains, your body's telling you something's wrong. Please look, research why I'm hurting and help me, because the body is actually fighting for you. And so what I would say is start with the fundamentals. Start with just the basics and see how you feel after that. And then you might go into getting your blood work done. You might go into getting a Dutch test done, things like that. But it really is not about some mystical herb. And that's one thing that has altered my coaching is when I first went into coaching, it was all about, because when they teach you how to be a coach or everything, it's like, okay, you hide your process. It's your super secret process. And then once they pay you, then you can reveal it to them, and it's all about these secret weapons and hidden protocols. But see, it really isn't complicated. It really isn't a brand new system or anything like that. It's about, are you feeding the body what it needs? And once you demystify that, once you break those down, then you can suss out, okay, I need to be drinking some dandelion tea. Now, okay, my heart is actually having some trouble. Let's look into that. So start there. It's really, don't worry about complicating it. It doesn't need to be complicated. Actually, God made it quite simple.
He really did. He really did. And I love that you shared that. I'm going to look at that a different way now. Because it's really true, honestly. Um, because the way that he has created us, how he formed us in the womb, if we see his pattern in nature, if we
Mhm.
see how God has created just certain animals and how they function and how just wildlife is. And if you look at just the world and you see patterns,
Mm,
that God knows exactly what he's doing. He has a plan and there's a pattern for our body. There's a pattern that he has for us to thrive. And I love that word. I think that's such a great word for us to remember in this conversation. And so if you're out there, just take a deep breath,
yes.
take a deep breath, and maybe mute some of those gurus that you've been listening for a while, because if they're invoking fear, that's not a good place to start. You want to be aware, and it's okay to want to be better, but you shouldn't be fearful or scared to do that.
That's exactly right. And that's really where, I'm trying to show up on social media in a way to help people to shut down the noise. And it's hard because like becoming another voice on social media,
Yeah.
but it's really not about this new protocol, this new thing, this new this. It's really about the way God designed you and the way God designed your body to respond to what you're eating and to what you're drinking and what you're taking and how you're sleeping. It's very much those fundamentals. And so looking at I think also another thing to mention is to not alienate and just say, "Ew, I just go with Western medicine or just go with Eastern medicine." You really got to understand that there is a concert between the two. Western medicine does the acute condition, Eastern medicine does the chronic condition. But this is, both of them deny Christ. Both of them don't understand that there is a sovereign God above all of it. But when you put that into place and you say how God designed the body, the joint supplieth every need. Well, the joint is also what supplies the lymphatic system for your cells, your T cells and your B cells to fight your immune system. God designed in his word about our body and everything like that. And it's just such a beautiful thing.
Yeah, I mean, we just had this conversation um since this recording, a conversation that a discussion with another guest about just how even physically looking up changes our brain, changes
Yeah.
our neural pathways. And I've been geeking out learning about that. And I've have like I'll see something and I'll like save it on in social media. And I'm like, okay, where did I put that? And I'm starting a notebook about it because it's so fascinating to me. Um, how that our physical body affects the spiritual, our spiritual self affects the physical. It's all connected
Yes.
and God is over it all. So no matter where you're looking, make sure you're looking to God first, and
Yes.
he will guide you. And he does have a plan. Like you said, he has designed our body to thrive. And I love that theme. So thank you for sharing that. That was amazing.
Yes, yes. I've been praying about what everyone, what everyone needs to hear, and God had laid that on my heart the other day, where it's just like so much of it is we're being told, "Oh, you're so sick with this, and now you didn't sleep well, and so it's because of this." And it's like, no, 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 no. God designed the body to thrive, and have faith in that.
Right.
One bad night's sleep does not mean you have a chronic sleeping condition.
Amen. Amen. Well, Kristen, can you share with us where everybody can find you online?
So I am on Instagram at Restored Nutrition Coaching, and my website is restorednutritioncoach.com. You can find it from there. And if you click that little link, I actually have what's called a clarity call, which is a 90-minute call where if you bring your blood work, your diagnoses, I will go over every step with you and help you to understand what's going on, what can help, what might not help, and help you to have more questions for your doctor and kind of meet that rubber meets the road where life hits and everything from there.
I love that. Thank you so much for being on the podcast with me.
Absolutely. Thank you so much for having me.